And I'm really happy that Sister Kifah gave us this opportunity to talk in front of you all. And you guys are so responsive of this. You're like, yeah, you feel me? So alhamdulillah, you guys are a good crowd. So I have a small introduction. So I think we all know, as probably most of you are probably Arab or like Middle Eastern. And in the 1970s, there were 2 oil blackouts from the Gulf countries, and they weren't giving oil anymore. And they made a lot of money out of that because the oil prices went up, right? And so third world countries weren't able to buy oil anymore because the prices were so up. And so Gulf countries made a lot of money out of that. With all the money that they had, these third world countries needed to borrow money from people. And so these Gulf countries, instead of lending their money without interest, because obviously we're not allowed to have interest, what they did, because they had so much money, and this is a historical fact, instead of taking that money and lending it without interest and letting these countries develop without having to constantly have like interest that multiplies, what they did is they had so much money, they gave it to the Western banks. These Western banks manipulated that money, gave it to the third world countries, and the cycle repeated again. And because of that economical justice, 100,000 people die per day because of the economical justice. And so when I was reading, because that's a small book I was reading about like the alternative to globalization, what should be our impact as Muslims, what should be our say. And they were saying how we had an opportunity as Muslims to have our Sharia being implemented. We had so much money, we could have lended it to third world countries, see them develop without riba, and then seeing like a stop in the pattern of what the West had started with like the corporate system and banks and so on. We didn't take that opportunity, and we see the disasters of it still nowadays. Second interesting fact of an opportunity that we do have as Muslims right now. With the Gulf countries that are booming economically, Islamic finances is probably like the topic right now, the A-list topic in like universities in the West. Everybody's talking about Islamic finances. And so lately there's a multi-billion real estate in the United States named HDG Mansour, which is a Muslim real estate, that decided to become, you heard of it? So they decided to become Sharia compliant. Wow, Sharia compliant, they attract us, no riba, wow, mashallah. But they're treating their janitors as though there were no Sharia compliances. And so our organization went against that and got some imams. One is in Villa Park, his name is Sheikh Abdurrahman Khan. And so they partnered together to speak about that, how we're being manipulated because they have double standards when it comes to our Islamic law. They're Sharia compliant when it comes to interest, and so we're interested because it's like, this is good mortgage. Yeah. But yet again, they're not Sharia compliant when it comes to their human interaction with their workers. It is very hypocritical. And so I think as Muslims, with the booming of Islamic finance, we have a second chance. We didn't take it in the 70s, but we have a second chance right now to actually see something being implemented, to seeing like a shift in the pattern that's been there for such a long time. That if you want to use our law, then you have to use it completely. You can't just use it when it comes to riba. And this is the same thing with the Jewish people, because with the Jewish community, because lately there's been a rally in Postville, Iowa, with 1,000. It was like 1,000 people demonstration. It's about kosher food. So Jewish can only eat kosher food, and so whenever they see kosher, they're very attracted, kosher food. But the workers, their conditions at the
kosher meat packing agro processors,
are completely just like very horrible. And so rabbis are saying, well, if you want to, we should redefine what kosher food means. Kosher food doesn't only imply slaughtering the meat properly. It's also what you treat the workers with, what kind of conditions you're going to give them. So I think that there could definitely be like a get-together amongst different faith traditions and communities and talk about the same issue. You can't use our law and our principles but manipulate it the way and get us to buy what you want, but not having the big picture of what it means to have that law being implemented. So now I'm just going to talk a bit about statistics. So the federal minimum wage in 1976 was $2.30 per hour. In 2008, it's $6.55. Okay, So that's like hardly 3 times, you know, that's hardly, you know, that's like in over 30 years, that salary, that minimum wage hasn't been multiplied by 3 times. In 1970, the CEO of a company was doing 30 times the salary of his lowest paid worker. In 2000, it's 300. In 2008, it's 550. 540, I'm sorry. I mean, that's exponential. That's not even normal. The richer they get, you can multiply the number of workers that are in the poverty line. And in Illinois, like she said, it's $7.75. And so I'll calculated that per year, and it comes down to $16,120. And the poverty line for a family of 3, you know, 3 people per family, that's the poverty line. It's $17,600. So you're already in the poverty line having the minimum wage. You know, I mean, it's very easy to find these kinds of family. I mean, 3, I mean, you can multiply. They're usually 4 or 5 and so on, and there's only one person working, like a single mother or many different case scenarios. And okay, so I have a little question. How does a family meet ends? A, both spouses working, B, stock returns, or C, higher wages?
Higher? I think higher wages.
No.
No?
It's
both people working.
Both people working.
Or you could like be working minimum wage and then be on like, you know, the healthcare through Illinois or whatever to help, I don't know, or food stamps or something like that maybe.
But the common,
you're talking about nowadays though. You're not saying like the ideal. You're asking how are they
Nowadays.
So
the ideal would be higher wages, right?
Everybody working in the family, not just the parents.
In reality, both